Inflation. IMF's classification of countries. Advanced economies AE and all non-advanced economies AE. तो AE पहले देखते हैं. High per capita income, export diversification, highly integrated with global financial services. All non-AE with emerging market and developing economies, EMDEs. Low income countries, PAC. इमर्जिंग मार्केट इकोनॉमीज EM में आपका नाइदर AE नॉर LIC आपका ये इंडिया. UN इकोसॉक लीस्ट डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज LDC. पर कैपिटा GNI लेस देन और इक्वल टू $1230. इकोनॉमिक एंड एनवायरमेंटल वल्नरेबिलिटी ह्यूमन एसेट इंडेक्स. मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक इंडिकेटर्स. Inflation is general level of price of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. Deflation occurs when inflation rate falls below 0%. In his book General Theory of on Employment, Interest and Money, British economist James Keynes said, when economy is functioning at full, ignore voluntary employment, aggregate demand will match aggregate supply. At this equilibrium, we will have general price level. An increase inflation, any decrease deflation. Inflammatory gap or deflammatory gap. It would have occurred because of increased money supply, increased propensity to consume, increased investment expenditure, increased fiscal deficit. 5. Net export increase. 6. High growth, higher aggregate demand could lead to inflation. Deflationary gap. It could have occurred because of decreased money supply, increased propensity to save. 3rd, decreased investment in expenditure. 4th, increased fiscal consolidation. 5th, decreased net exports. 6th, depression or recession that results into falling aggregate demand. C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Inflationary spiral or deflationary spiral. Inflationary spiral. Inflation increases. Workers demand higher wages to keep up with cost of living. Firms pass these higher labor cost on to their customers. Higher prices, more inflation. Deflationary spiral. Fall in prices, lower profit to firm, lower production, lower wages, worker laid off, lower demand, lower prices. फिलिप्स कर्व, ये इन्फ्लेशन है, ये अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है. ये कर्व इस तरीके से आ रहा है. मोर इन्फ्लेशन मोर जॉब्स, मोर डिफ्लेशन लेस जॉब्स. इन्फ्लेशन टाइप बेस्ड ऑन causation. Demand pull inflation. Monetary inflation where RBI printing of more money results in inflation. Cost push inflation due to increased cost of inputs. Profit push inflation manipulating the supply. Built-in inflation linked to the price or wage inflationary spiral. First, more inflation. Second, workers demands higher wages. Third, businessman increased product price. Repressed inflation. During war, government imposes prices control and rationing to keep prices under check. But the moment such controls are withdrawn, prices will go up and is called repressed inflation. Stagflation. Persistent high inflation, high unemployment, low growth resulting into stagnant economy. Skewflation. Term to denote episodic price rise in one or small group of commodities, while inflation in the remaining goods and services remain unusual. Example: pulses, tomato, onion inflation in India. Headline inflation. It is the measure of total inflation within an economy, usually presented in the form of CPI or WPI. Core inflation. Headline inflation in food or energy articles. Reflation. Price rise due to increase in money supply by RBI through fiscal stimulus. Deflation से इन्फ्लेशन के बीच में रिफ्लेशन. Structural inflation. Inflation that is part of a particular economic system. A complete change in economic policy would be needed to get rid of it. Inflation as a result of government policies. MSP for wheat or rice, but much for pulses, not inflation in pulses. Inflation types based on speed. Creeping inflation 4% per annum. It is regarded safe and essential for job creation and economic growth. Walking, trotting inflation more than 4% onward to double digit. Running inflation when it shifts to double digit. Galloping or hyperinflation, very high level 20 to 100%, even 10,000% or more. Germany after Treaty of Versailles due to monetized deficit. Modern day Venezuela and Zimbabwe due to misgovernance. Inflation or base effects. Choice of base denominator could make the inflation look too high or too low, even if the price rise has been same as the earlier. 2010, 11, 2012. 100, 110, 120 onion prices. 110 upon 10, 10%, 2011. 2012 में 110 upon 120, 9.09%. Price increased by some rupee, but percentage wise inflation is different due to base effects. During inflation, during deflation. Businessman or borrowers, loan taker to bond issuer, they have to return money with less PPP. During inflation, they make higher profit because price of product or because price of final goods is rising faster than price of raw material. ड्यूरिंग डिफ्लेशन दे मेक लॉसेस क्योंकि कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन ज़्यादा होता है फाइनल गुड्स से. ले ऑफ वर्कर्स टू कट सैलरी और बिल्स. इफेक्ट फिक्स्ड इनकम ग्रुप्स लेंडर्स डिपॉजिटर बॉन्ड होल्डर्स मनीज यहाँ पे. PPP declined real interest rate, nominal interest minus inflation rate. Salaried or individual pensions suffer. They will suffer because they have to return money even if their PPP declined. फिर रियल इंटरेस्ट रेट जो है फिर नॉमिनल इंटरेस्ट रेट माइनस इन्फ्लेशन रेट हो जाएगा. ड्यूरिंग डिफ्लेशन में देखें तो दे विल बेनिफिट क्योंकि PPP ऑफ मनी विल इंक्रीज. फिर इफेक्ट में करेंसी एक्सचेंज रेट का देखा जाए तो ड्यूरिंग इन्फ्लेशन रुपए PPP फॉल, रुपए वीकन्स अगेंस्ट फॉरेन करेंसी एज फॉरेनर्स गेट लेस कीन टू बाई फ्रॉम इंडिया. जैसे 1 किलो ओनियन 50 रुपये $1 और 70 रुपये भी $1. तो ड्यूरिंग डिफ्लेशन रिवर्स विल हैपन. कॉम्बैटिंग इन्फ्लेशन और डिफ्लेशन. फाइटिंग इन्फ्लेशन और फाइटिंग डिफ्लेशन. RBI यहाँ पे टाइट डियर हॉकिश मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी टू मेक द लोन एक्सपेंसिव. यहाँ पे चीप करेगा, इजी करेगा, डोइश करेगा मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी को टू मेक लोन्स चीपर. यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट जो है वो टैक्स को डिडक्ट करेगी, एग्जाम्पशन सब्सिडी टू प्रोड्यूसर्स टू डिक्रीज कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन. यहाँ पर टैक्स डिडक्शन, एग्जाम्पशन, सब्सिडी टाइप बेनिफिट्स टू कंज्यूमर्स टू इंकरेज परचेज कंजम्पशन. फाइटिंग इन्फ्लेशन में अगर देखा जाए तो कर्टेलिंग फिजिकल डेफिसिट, कर्टेलिंग स्कीम और सब्सिडी दैट इंक्रीज मनी इन हैंड्स ऑफ बेनिफिशियरी विदाउट इंक्रीजिंग प्रोडक्शन. यहाँ पे इंक्रीज द एक्सपेंडिचर ऑन पब्लिक प्रोजेक्ट्स, एग्जांपल हाईवे, डैम्स एक्सेट्रा. यहाँ पर आप फिर डिमांड इन स्टील सीमेंट इंडस्ट्री, वर्कर गेट्स मनी, डिमांड टुवर्ड इन्फ्लेशन जाएगा ये डिफ्लेशन से. यहाँ पे ऑर्डरिंग RBI टू इशू इन्फ्लेशन इंडेक्स बॉन्ड्स, सॉवरिन गोल्ड बॉन्ड्स, एसेंशियल कमोडिटीज़ एक्ट, स्टॉक लिमिट्स, मिनिमम एक्सपोर्ट प्राइस, FCIs, ओपन मार्केट सेल ऑपरेशन, प्राइस स्टेबलाइजेशन फंड, ऑफरिंग हायर MSP टू फार्मर्स टू इंक्रीज प्रोडक्शन, पर्टिकुलर कोऑपरेशन. Move fiscal deficit to more inflation. Inflation indices CPI, WPI, IIP and others. Less payers method L related to assigning weightage average. Pascal index P. This index tells us what today basket of commodities would have cost at base year's price. Fisher index geometric mean of L and P. F equal to LP under root LP. Index by base year. CPI UR all India. कंज्यूमर फूड प्राइस इंडेक्स, ये होगा NSO मोस्पी के द्वारा, 2012 बेस ईयर है। CPI इंडस्ट्रियल वर्कर्स IW, CPI रूरल लेबरर और एग्री लेबरर RL और AL, ये लेबर ब्यूरो एट शिमला 2016 है और ये नीचे वाला 1986। होलसेल प्राइस इंडेक्स WPI, इकोनॉमिक एडवाइज़र टू DPIIT कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री, बेस ईयर 2011। CPI ऑल इंडिया, RBI कंट्रोल 2 to 6% इन्फ्लेशन। CPI AL मनरेगा वेजेस, CPI IW फैक्ट्री मिनिमम वेजेस, डियरनेस अलाउंस। अदर इंडिसेस इकोनॉमिक एनालिसिस, ये आपका हेडलाइन इन्फ्लेशन है। हेडलाइन इन्फ्लेशन माइनस फूड और एनर्जी केयर इन्फ्लेशन, कर्व इन्फ्लेशन, ठीक। इंडेक्सेशन एडजस्टिंग वेजेस और डियरनेस अलाउंसेस अकॉर्डिंग टू appropriate indexes। CPI IW, CPI all India components decreasing order। Food and beverages with 45.86, services transport communication health education recreational, ठीक 20.62%, housing 10.07, fuel and light 6.84, clothing and footwear 6.53, miscellaneous personal soap etc, household सर्विसेज पैन मसाला टोबैको इंटॉक्सिकेंट 2.3, टोटल वेट 100 आएगा। CPI और WPI, हु कंप्यूट्स, यहाँ पे CPI मोस्पी NSO, WPI कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री EA DPIIT। यहाँ पे पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, CPI में कंज्यूमर, WPI में होलसेल। डाटा में CPI का प्राइस प्लस इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस GST एक्साइज वैट एक्सेट्रा, WPI में ओनली प्राइस। कवर्स में CPI गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज, WPI में गुड्स खाली, सर्विसेज नहीं। बेस ईयर में 2012 CPI और WPI 2011। WPI कंपोनेंट्स डिक्रीजिंग ऑर्डर, मैन्युफैक्चर्ड प्रोडक्ट्स प्रोसेस्ड फूड केमिकल प्लास्टिक एक्सेट्रा 64%, प्राइमरी आर्टिकल अनप्रोसेस्ड 19%, क्रूड पेट्रोलियम 2%, मिनरल 0.8% 23%, फ्यूल एंड पावर हाई स्पीड डीजल पेट्रोल LPG 13%, टोटल 100%। पिलर 4Z माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स, माइक्रो और मैक्रो। माइक्रो इंडिविजुअल्स फैमिली होम बजट, इंडिविजुअल्स प्रोडक्शन इंडिविजुअल्स डिमांड। मैक्रो कंट्रीज बजट, कंट्रीज GDP और नेशनल इनकम, इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट और BOP। नो वन पेज डायरेक्टली, नो वन इज एक्सक्लूडेड। टाइप ऑफ गुड्स, फ्री गुड्स एयर, कॉमन गुड्स फिश पॉन्ड ग्रेजिंग ग्राउंड, सोशल गुड्स और पब्लिक गुड्स स्ट्रीट लाइट डिफेंस। पेड और फ्री, ये फ्री है, ये भी फ्री है, ये भी फ्री है। कैन एनी वन बी एक्सक्लूडेड फ्रॉम यूजिंग, नहीं नहीं नहीं। राइवलरी इन कंजम्पशन, नहीं यस। वन फार्मर ग्रेजिंग हिज हर्ड इक्वल टू लेस फॉर अदर, नो यूजुअली। अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट, नो नो, यहाँ पे है। गवर्नमेंट कुड हैव यूज दैट रुपए on other productive work। Street light, free rider problem, so private sector generally do not provide free goods। Goods where you have to pay रुपए or else you are excluded। Types private or economic goods or club good or artificial scarce good। Paid or free, paid, यहाँ पे paid। Can anyone be excluded? Yes। Can't use without paying, yes। Rivalry in consumption, yes if less unit available and available, example textbook, यहाँ पे no। quantity available for purchase does not decrease, book Netflix etc, e-book Netflix ये सब। these goods can be classified into a merit goods, जिसमें टेक्स्ट बुक ई बुक्स एक्सेट्रा, यहाँ पे demerit goods टोबैको वायलेंट वीडियो गेम्स एक्सेट्रा। Price discrimination, it happens when a company charges different price to different groups of consumer for an identical good, example Microsoft and Adobe giving educational discount to students, self-financed colleges charging extra for NRI quota student for same source, airfares differ based on how early you book ticket, price control, price ceiling not more than this, price floor not less than this MSP or minimum wages। Demand. Individual demand, demand by person or household. Market demand, sum of all households demand. Ex ante, actual need of consumer. Ex post, need of consumer change due to market forces. Joint demand, item used together and bought together. Car, petrol, tea, sugar, bread, butter. Composite demand, total demand of good with multiple alternative uses. Example, steel, spoon, pipes, automobile industry. Derived demand, customer want to buy apartment. Builder start constructing it, leads to steel demand plus wood plus cement. Demand elasticity, responsive to price or income. Demand elasticity against price. Consumers' demand for a good is inversely related to the price of good. Ceteris paribus, meaning all other things remain same. Salary does not increase or decrease, does not fall ill. Price directly inversely proportional to demand. For normal goods, demand may be perfectly inelastic, EP equal to 0. जैसे एग्जांपल वाटर, प्राइस वही रहे, डिमांड भी वही रहेगी, नेसेसरी गुड है, चाहे प्राइस बढ़े चाहे कुछ, डिमांड वही रहनी है. रिलेटिव इनलास्टिसिटी, EP लेस देन 1. ठीक है, ये इसका ग्राफ है. एग्जांपल मिल्क, प्राइस इंक्रीज बाय 10%, डिमांड फॉल्स बट लेस देन 10%. Relatively elastic, EP is more than 1%. Example, Pepsi, price increase by 10%, demand decrease by more than 10%. ये इसलिए less than 10% है क्योंकि ये unavoidable है. Unitary elastic, price increase in percentage equal to demand decrease in percentage. Perfect inelasticity का ये है. For Veblen goods, लग्जरी प्रोडक्ट्स, प्राइस ठीक है और डिमांड, ये एक्सेप्शनल डिमांड कर्व है. हायर प्राइस हायर डिमांड, Veblen goods also known as snob appeal good. Giffen goods, non luxury products, inferior goods. Higher price higher demand, lower price lower demand. Veblen goods and Giffen goods are special type of goods which do not follow law of demand. Price effects on demand. Higher prices will result in and lower price result in. Normal good, higher price में lower demand होगा, lower price में higher demand. Veblen goods में high price पे high demand है और low price पे great fall in demand है. Giffen goods में high price होते ही higher demand है और low price होते ही greater fall in demand है. Inferior goods जैसे केरोसिन वगैरह, high income equal to lower demand, low income equal to higher demand. Demand elasticity against income, graph showing relationship between income and demand, angel curve. For normal goods, demand elasticity with respect to income, unitary elasticity, EI equal to 1, more than 10% salary equal to 10% demand rise. Relative elasticity, EI equal to more than 1, 10% increase in salary equal to more than 10% increase in demand. Movie tickets, Swiggy order etc. Relative elasticity, जहाँ पे EI 0 से ज़्यादा है और 1 से छोटा है, जैसे 10% in salary equal to demand increase but less than 10%. Soap, toothpaste, EI equal to 0, perfect in elasticity. Income ये रही, demand ये रहा, ये है perfect in elasticity. For inferior goods, EI equal less than 0. Demand for inferior good is inversely related to income of buyer. Salary more, demand less. Demand elasticity, gross price elasticity. It measures the responsiveness of demand for one good with respect to a change in price of another good. Positive cross elasticity, demand increase. Substitute coffee and tea. Negative cross elasticity, demand decrease. Complementary goods, increase in bread price, less demand in both bread and butter. Car, petrol, cigar, lighter. Zero cross elasticity, no effect, unrelated goods. Supply, stock, available quantity of goods. Supply, stock that seller is willing to sell. Price offered, यहाँ quantity supplied. Break even point, it is the point on supply curve at the rate which firm earn normal profit. Supply elasticity, ES equal to 0, perfect in elasticity. Price changes can never change supply. Example, Mona Lisa painting. ES less than 1, relative inelasticity. 10% price increase offered, equal to increase in supply but less than 10% because they are finite. ES equal to 1, unitary. 10% equal to 10%. ES more than 1, relative elasticity. 10% price increase offered, equal to supply will increase more than 10%. ES infinity, तो ये वाला ग्राफ है, ये परफेक्ट इलास्टिसिटी है. Market and components type. Competition type. Perfect competition, buyer or sellers. Buyer, infinite buyer. Seller में infinite seller with identical product. Little price change buyers to another seller. So buyer is price maker. यहाँ पे मोनोपोलिस्टिक कंपटीशन, तो बायर में मैनी बायर्स हैं, सेलर में मैनी सेलर. ईच सेलर हैज स्लाइटली डिफरेंट वर्जन ऑफ प्रोडक्ट. आईफोन, सैमसंग, वन प्लस. सो लिटल change will not shift buyers to another seller, so seller is price maker. Oligopoly, many buyers, few sellers with identical product but intense competition between them. SpiceJet, Vistara or Indigo. Cartel, when they form gang and restrict supply and prices to fight against cartelization. Monopolistic and Restrictive Trade Practices Act, MRTP Act 1969 replaced Competition Commission of India 2002 statutory. Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Monopoly, many buyers, only one seller. Example, Indian Railways. No close substitute. Marketing or advertising cost equal to 0 rupees. Seller is price maker. Duopoly, only two firms in market but if they form cartel. Monopoly. Monopoly, one buyer, many seller. Indian Railway buying seats. Buyer is price maker. Oligopoly, few large buyers. Small seller. Indian Dairy India versus Dairy Farmer. Indian farm dairy industry, ठीक. Buyer can command price. KFC, McDonald versus poultry farmer. Production function, it is the relationship between input used and output produced by firms. Cost function is the relationship between cost incurred while producing output. Social cost, factories emit smoke, residents fall ill, their cars or clothes need frequent washing. Social cost of carbon. Real cost, pain, stress, sacrifice. Private cost, owner spending. Money cost, salary plus building rent, etc. Explicit cost, farmers' cost of buying fertilizer, insecticide, etc. from market. Implicit or imputed cost, farmers' cost of self-provided inputs, own land, FL, etc. Normal profit, producers' minimum expectation from a business. Supernormal profit, economies of scale, as due to R&D, marginal efficiency, operational efficiency. As firm grow in size, its average fixed cost continue to decline. Production starts to become more profitable. Diseconomies of scale, beyond a point, if firm grows bigger in size, production starts to become less profitable. Fixed cost, irrespective of unit produced, industries will have to pay property tax, rent, interest on loan. Variable cost, GST, electricity, etc. Total cost 1 plus 2. Shadow price, measures true or intrinsic value of product. Or example, price of urea without subsidy. Capital output ratio, how much capital invested to produce one unit. Production possibility curve, if we have 100 kg steel, 100 kg wood, what should we produce? 150 guns of 150 chairs और 0 गन और 200 चेयर्स. जैसे गन है, ये क्वांटिटी ऑफ चेयर हो गया, ठीक है. तो ग्रोथ ऑफ स्टील एंड वुड में ये केस आ रहा है. इट इज़ अ कॉन्केव फ्रॉम ओरिजिन एंड स्लोपर डाउनवर्ड. दिस मीन्स मोर ऑफ गुड्स कैन बी प्रोड्यूस्ड ओनली बाय सैक्रिफाइसिंग सम क्वांटिटी ऑफ अदर गुड्स. Pareto optimal, once an economy is a Pareto optimal stage or state, then beyond this point one person or sector can't made for. happier or efficient or profitable without making other happy. Average prosperity to save equal to total saving upon total income. Marginal propensity to save equal to percentage change in saving with percentage change in income. Average propensity to consume equal to total consumption upon total income. Marginal propensity to consume percentage change in consumption with percentage change in income. Value paradox is scarcity. Plenty paradox, more crop production. Farmer will earn lesser because price will crash due to excessive supply. Paradox of thrift. John Maynard Keynes. Individual start saving. He will buy less TV, fridge, etc. computer. Industrialist profit decrease. Throw out employees. Individual will be able to save less. Thus, when individual saving increases, total saving in economy decreases. Liquidity trap. J.M. Keynes. It refers to a situation in which an increase in the money supply does not result in fall in interest rate but merely an addition to idle cash balance. Income hypothesis. First, absolute income hypothesis by J.M. Keynes. It deals with how the consumer divides his disposable money or income between consumption and saving. Rich people, lower consumption, larger saving. Poor people, larger consumption, less saving. Kuznets paradox. Second, relative income hypothesis. A person's current consumption or saving is not dependent on his current income but relative income compared to previous years. After recession, when economy grows, individuals still hesitate to consume more. Third, permanent income hypothesis by Milton Friedman. People will spend more at a level consistent with their expected long-term average income. Fourth, life cycle hypothesis. Young people take loans hoping that future income will allow them to pay it, while middle-aged people spend less and prefer to save more for retirement planning, child's education, child marriage. Kuznets curve versus economist Simon Kuznets. As economy develops, market forces will first increase inequality and then decrease inequality among people. Environmental Kuznets curve. ये आपका पॉल्यूशन है, ये पर कैपिटा जीडीपी. यहाँ पे प्री इंडस्ट्रियल एग्रेरियन है, यहाँ पे इंडस्ट्रियल इकोनॉमीज़ है. इसके बाद जब नीचे आ रहे हैं तो ये पोस्ट इंडस्ट्रियल सर्विस सेक्टर है. ये इन्वर्टेड यू शेप है. ठीक है.